So, hello everybody. I'm back. I hope y'all are having a wonderful weekend. Today's March the 7th. Imagine that, it's already March. Doesn't feel like it, but according to my calendar here, it says it's March the 7th already. So, uh, another 9 more months till Christmas again. So, I just got back from my um little break during the global podcast event that took place last week. It actually was on an ongoing event for at least 2 weeks, but I was only able to join in the last week of the event. It was pretty interesting. People, podcasters from all over the world um, participated, and some were podcasting in various languages, and obviously, uh, they're able to connect with their audience worldwide, even though they weren't really speaking in English, which was pretty interesting. So, yeah, I thought I'd share that little tidbit about my experience at the global podcast event. Um, anyway, um, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody around the world that is listening to our podcast and has been following the face economics concept since our inception back in 2013. So my name is Al Mina. I'm the concept author of the face economics idea, brand, as well as ideology and vision uh, to help markets, either domestic or international markets, succeed in the fourth industrial revolution using social media. So we focus in on economic development um, agendas throughout the world for various markets, may it be frontier market, emerging market, or developed market. Speaking of which, what we're going to be talking about is a little, I guess, not the most commonly spoke about subject when it comes to economics, but it's extremely relevant in economic development and also sustaining, um, the viability and continuity of a specific market environment. So we're going to be talking about sex. Yes, you heard that right. We're going to be talking about sex, but not the type of sex conversation that you would typically uh, listen to on late night shows or cable networks. We're going to be talking about um, the economics of sex. See, America and most highly populated societies around the world, maybe America, China, you know, bigger countries tend to have a large population of workers. And basically, these workers came from various generations of the population, and they, impart their experiences, knowledge, education, skills to the next generation. And they become the producers, the consumers, leaders, decision makers, teachers, taxpayers, within a marketplace. And so here in America, you know, we're before I move further and keep on discussing this subject, I want to make sure that everybody understands that I'm going to put a disclaimer out there, which is this particular episode is meant to reflect on the economics behind procreation to sustain future domestic market labor force. And this is not to alienate or single out anyone regardless of their gender, sexual preference, or attitude towards, uh, you know, sexual preferences within whoever it is they want to partner with. Uh, with the rise of sexual confusion in America, however, um, fewer and fewer Americans are reproducing, creating a family, and incorporating a legacy that will carry on long after, the pre-existing population have left this earth. And yes, I said that sexual confusion because unfortunately, you know, two men cannot procreate and two women aren't able to, you know, have children unless they were to go through some sort of fertilization, in vitro fertilization, I think is what it's called. But in the regular norms and the natural way of reproduction, a man and a woman would have to, have sex in order to create, an offspring and have babies. So yes, folks, American consumerism is in a decline, as well as our ability to create, innovate, and compete in the upcoming new world marketplace. Um, the reason it being is because our population isn't actively replenishing from within. It wasn't like, during the earlier years where families would have multiple children to help, plow the field, attend to, farm animals and build, houses together. We no longer live in that kind of era in America. So that is the reason why we started bringing in legal and illegal immigrants into the country. Um, but unfortunately, even that is also dwindling. The legal and illegal immigrant population of America is also on a steep decline. There aren't a whole lot of people that are immigrating to America anymore. Even illegals aren't coming to America in the same numbers as they used to, compared to the 40s and 50s. Also, the educated population is under a massive student loan debt. When you have a mortgage and not have a house to live in, that in itself would hinder you to want to create a family. And yes, if there aren't any, children, then we would have to bring in workers from abroad. Back during the baby boomers generation, Americans would basically have children and teach those children certain skills and give them an education where they can use to sustain market development. And unfortunately, uh, those years have passed and it's long gone. So we have to create a new strategy in replenishing our domestic market. Also, reproductive health in the country is massively affected due to alternative sexual preference introduced in the marketplace. And this is, I guess, a very sensitive subject, and I want to make sure that everybody understand that we're not trying to alienate or single out anyone. We respect your sexual preference, whatever might that be. I'm simply, reflecting on the economics of sex between a man and a woman. Because if we do not create additional uh, people within our population, we would have to bring them in from somewhere. And, we need to keep replenishing the supply for the demand in the labor market in America. The domestic labor force in America is slowly depleting, and some of our population are not fit or not skilled or educated to take on the roles of the next labor uh, market population, may that be the blue collar or white collar population. So this takes me to my next point, that if we were to bring in illegal and legal immigrants to help us reproduce, consume, pay taxes, contribute to the marketplace, then they would expect equal rights as Americans. And depending on who you talk to, there is a pro and con to the ability of the country to sustain a cultural legacy when people from various parts of the world immigrants to America and basically endorse their backgrounds into the local population and culture, which isn't always bad or good. It really depends on how you see certain things that would be of value to the marketplace. Because if you all remember, um, you know, for the longest time, there was only one predominant race in America, and that predominant race um, basically, not willingly, but by default, they didn't really, uh, in general, the predominant population didn't want to preserve racism. It was just the byproduct of having such a massive number of population that are of the same ethnicity. So, depending on who you talk to or who you ask and what kind of um, worldview and opinions that they cater to, the rise of racism in America was predominantly due to the byproduct and by default of having such a large population that is of the same ethnicity. Now, when we talk about economics, racism will not really qualify regardless of what the number of the population is. But we need to focus on procreation so that we can replenish the labor force. So those are the things that is relevant in today's new world marketplace, especially now that everybody's competing to market various markets to the top of the next economic powerhouse. With that said, we will also need to increase the population in order for our GDP, purchasing power, export of goods, consumption of goods and services, as well as a stronger quality of life in a vibrant marketplace can be preserved because we have the workforce to sustain it and support that kind of, market aspiration as well as sustainability. On top of that, we need fresh blood to help create jobs, start a business, buy stocks, and engage in the financial services and financial markets in order to help, strengthen our economy and preserve the dollar as the lead global currency in trade. So all this really revolves around procreation and the need for Americans, regardless of race, to, have families and, have children and educate those children to be decent human beings and would want to contribute into our marketplace. So with that said, I'm going to try to keep this podcast relatively on time. I try to keep my podcast from 15 to 20 minutes long. So, I can continue on uploading additional content because we have a quota per month on how much time we put onto our podcast. So, lastly, as you all know, the stimulus was approved just a few days ago. And my take on that is that I believe that because of our new normal, we would have to have a regular injection of stimulus money into the marketplace. This means supporting job growth and funding micro and macro businesses in our country. Matter of fact, we should have been doing that 45 years ago. If we were actively engaged in helping preserve and develop capacity of our micro and macro businesses that eventually creates jobs and contribute to the economy, we would have fewer problems economic wise, and even having to have a strategy when we have a revenue that is continuously on the positive income stream of the country. So, with this said, I hope you had the time and I was able to provoke your thoughts and ideas that you probably never thought of before. So, Face Economics, our podcast, is dedicated to talking about what is being shared on social media that is triggered by an economic force. I don't know, some of you might have heard that there's an invisible hand in economics. And what that is that invincible hand dictates, the shifts and changes within a marketplace. Now that we have social media, the hand is not so invincible anymore. Social media expose the hand via what's being shared on social media and what is being consumed. So it's a big game changer for a lot of businesses, and especially those that pay attention to market development worldwide, because the influence of social media is so profound that it can change markets instantly and fairly rapidly. Poorer countries can utilize social media to increase social economic development, as well as developed countries can use the influence of social media to further attract skills and talents to come and enter the marketplace and contribute in the marketplace. So with that said, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Thank you for joining me. My name again is Al Mina. I am the concept author of Face Economics, the utilization of social media in economic development worldwide. Thank you for your time. I look forward to seeing you all again. Have a great week ahead. Bye.